Hello and welcome to the Nonsense Retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick. Joining me equally as always is Devon.
Hello!
Yeah, today we're going to be talking a bit about Magic the Gathering, or Final Fantasy, or whatever, wherever the twain shall meet. We planned to do this retrospective, and then immediately they revealed some of the cards.
Well, they didn't reveal some of the cards. They've revealed some of the cards as in, yes, we know Terra's going to be a card, we know Yuna and Tidus are going to be a card, but we don't know what these cards are going to do, and they've released a grand total of 6 pieces of artwork, which are all very nice. Yes,
and that's part of what we're going to be chatting about today, what we think that's going to happen. But yes, before we get too far into that, we'll talk about our good old time-honored tradition of the nonsense asinine hypotheticals. What have you got for me today?
Well, we're talking about Magic the Gathering, and this particular set that we will be fantasy booking is going to involve commander decks, which are the new vogue as far as Magic the Gathering is concerned. So my question's easy. You get to pick any video game character to be a commander in Magic the Gathering. Who do you pick and what's their gimmick? They cannot be a creature that already exists, so that pretty much eliminates Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate is eliminated.
And Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed are also eliminated by proxy.
Yeah, because they're going to be things.
Shit, even Fallout then as well.
Yeah, and Transformers.
That's not a video game.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Like, the first thing that comes to mind is Mass Effect. I think that'd make a pretty cool set in general.
Well, we're not talking about the set, we just want the commander.
Yeah. Like, Shepard is, like, the immediate one that you'd go for, but, like, I don't know. I think Rex would make a pretty good commander. Like, I could see his gimmick being conducive to commander play. Krogan, in general, have, like, a fast-healing gimmick. I don't think he'd be able to give that to other things, but,
it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Just having that as a standard Krogan thing, and then just he boosts other Krogans like a standard war chief thing that you get as a standard war chief rule for like Goblin war chief and Elven commander and whatever. It's simple but effective. It might do the thing where you do the Relentless Rats thing of all of them get as much bigger as however many others of them there are to kind of simulate how dangerous Krogan get when there's like a horde of them.
Yeah, but this is Rex, so Genophage.
Yeah.
I think it would focus less on the horde aspect and more on the fact that, holy shit, Krogan are pretty fucking tough.
Yeah, they are. Like, I think Genophage Cure would end up being one of the cards in his deck. I like Rex. I think he'd be a pretty good pick. He might not be the best pick, but he's the first one that my mind goes to because I think he's slightly more iconic as an individual character and as an individual like concept for a card than even Shepard, because Shepard could be like multiple different things, whereas Rex pretty much is set on his one path. Like the only changes you can make to Rex are: do you convince him to live, or does he become king?
Well, the problem with Rex is, in Magic the Gathering terms, is I imagine him being solo red, so you'd have to have a solo red commander deck, which isn't impossible, but its gimmick is very telling.
Yeah, but by the same token, like Krogan are like scarily good with technology. It's really easy to forget that because they've blown up their planet multiple times.
Yeah, but it's also not true though, Rick, is it? Because it's all fucking relative. Relatively speaking, no, they're not.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. But like a red deck that is all about like that also has like vehicles and equipment as additional gimmicks, like isn't the worst thing. But yeah, I think maybe red green would work as well because that's also kind of like a savagery combo. But yes, I'm picking Rex. What are you picking for your one choice from any video game?
I'm picking Kirby as a proxy for Sakurai.
Aww.
Like, Kirby will have Sakurai's hair because he has swallowed his powers, and his theme would be, well, I don't know if you played the story mode for the, I believe it's Ultimate is the latest Smash game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not Subspace Emissary, World of Darkness, World of Light, yeah. Yeah,
so Kirby is the sole survivor, as it were, and he goes around reactivating all of the characters in Smash. Your deck will have all the characters from Smash.
Yeah. But Kirby's the one that reactivates them, and I'm assuming that he can probably become a copy of something else.
Yeah, I think his big gimmick would be able to copy basically another card's effect, whether it be yours or an opponent's.
Sure. Because there's a couple of cards that already do that. Like, there's quite a few that just become a copy of something else. There's one that I can think of that it gains all of the abilities of things with +1/+1 counters on them. And another thing you can do is choke chuck a +1/+1 counter on something.
Yeah, I get you. But yeah, that is just Kirby's big gimmick in every game he's ever been in, is he swallows enemies and he gets their abilities.
Yeah.
Does it in Smash. There could be multiple versions of Kirby in your deck that just come with pre-effects loaded in.
Man, even the thing where you can exile something, put it under him, and then he becomes a copy of that while the thing is exiled. That actually works really well for the fact that he swallows things.
Yeah, sure, that works. That super works. As for colour, I don't know how legal it would be, as it were, but I'd make him one of that concept of you can pay one of each colour.
Okay, you wouldn't just make him a red and white creature to combo into pinkness.
I'd make him one of each colour, because then that means the deck is no longer limited to colours, because I think if you're doing a Smash Ultimate combo deck, you'd have to encompass everything, because like Ganondorf it could be black easy.
Oh yeah, easy. Like he's like probably red, black, blue, like a Baden actually.
Well, again, I'm thinking because Kirby would be the legendary creature and he'd be able to put anything in his deck.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the Nintendo characters would be a single colour.
Sure.
And then it would also make it more difficult to play things, because if your lands don't come out the way you want to, then you're complete fucked.
Yeah. Well, by the same token, I'd say making them cheap but restrictive also works. So, like, having 2 or even 3 different colours in the mana cost, but having not a lot of blank mana usually works pretty well. So, like, say, Link might be green and white, but only costs like 1 green and white, and he's like a 4/4.
We've already gone into more detail about this than I wanted to.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Kirby on this one.
Kirby, all the colours, because Kirby is a god king.
He is. He's cute.
Do you have a question for me, Rick?
Yeah, my one's a bit different. The hypothetical is you have a portal gun, but it only has enough juice for 2 shots. Where do you put these 2 portals?
So portal gun as in Portal with Shell, not portal gun as in Rick and Morty.
Well, yeah, because Shell Portal has more defined rules.
Sure.
The standard thing of you can't put it on a surface that moves, because if it does, then it goes away.
Wait, is that
within reason? Yeah. So like if you put it on a surface and then the surface moves, then the portal gets removed. I think it was originally a limitation of the game engine, but they decided to make that into a limitation for you, so that you couldn't just like put something on something and then like re-aim where the portal goes mid-shot or something.
Fair enough. I don't know really, because like you got 2 choices. You can either do something fantastical, but the problem is you have to get to the other location to put the portal down.
Yeah.
So you either do something to enable something you weren't able to do before, or you do another portal that means you can make a task that it usually takes all day take 5 minutes.
Yep.
So those are really your only 2 options. I'm struggling to think of anything fantastical,
Okay, fair enough.
And there's nothing near me that's annoying to get to.
Yeah, I feel you.
It just takes time. The trains are shit round here, because I live in one of those next to one of those stations, Rick, where every 3 trains is when we get one that actually stops.
Yeah, because it's like a minnow station, and not all of them stop there.
Yeah, we get 2 trains an hour, but the amount of trains that actually go past the station is about 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bollocks. I don't know. There's the answer.
Fair enough. What I thought about though is you put them in 2 places that are middle of nowhere on like opposite sides of the world.
How would you get there first to put them down?
Well, you go the normal way. You fly. There's no time limit on these, so you just fire one, pop the gun in your luggage, hope it doesn't get triggered while you're in flight, because that'd ruin the whole thing. And fire like one in the middle of nowhere, like up on the moors, and one in the middle of nowhere down in Australia or something.
Okay, but why?
Because you then have a world transport system, and because it's the middle of nowhere, the land is cheap, so you can leverage this new phenomenon as a way to build little villages and be in control of that. A bit like the dinosaur village that I mentioned to you last year that sprung up around a guy who was doing fossils.
Sure, but a guy doing fossils is a guy doing something that has been around since the end of time. The end of time? Beginning of however long archaeology has been a thing. What what you're suggesting is the moment you even hint at that you have this technology, you will be assassinated.
Oh, yeah, except it's the only shots that it has, and I'm assuming, like, the crystal breaks on it.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. You'll be assassinated and it will be taken from you.
Yep.
You can't share
Maybe
this.
so.
You can't share this technology, even if it's a one-time deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not how humanity works.
Yeah.
Especially if you suddenly start making money out of these magical portals that you've summoned.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my first thought anyway. Or rather, it was the thought that I had after thinking about it for more than 5 seconds, because my super first thought was, fuck it, the moon. Fuck you, humanity.
Yeah, but again, this is the limitations of the questions means you go to the moon and you die.
Oh yes. Or air starts going to the moon, and the Earth eventually dies.
That's not really how portals work.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, how much? Like, it's not a vacuum, as in like a vacuum cleaner. It's not going to suddenly just start sucking all the oxygen off.
Well, I mean, the moon is essentially.
It's not, though, is it?
It basically is.
No, it's the size of the portal, Rick, is human size. It's not going to siphon off all the world's oxygen.
Oh, not in like 10 minutes, no, but it's going to do it like over time.
I don't think that's how that works.
Sure. But yeah, anyway, that's my shitty question for today.
It's not a shitty question, it was just a shitty answer.
But yeah, we're chatting about what we would do with MTG Final Fantasy. So do you have any thoughts about what you would do in general?
Well, first things first, let's establish what Wizards of the Coast is actually intending to do with Magic the Gathering with this set. It's first things first, they announced something really important. The cards that come out in Universe Beyond for Final Fantasy are going to be valid in standard format.
Yes, similar to the Assassin's Creed ones, because they're coming out as a real set. They're going to be valid in standard, and it's weird that the Assassin's Creed ones haven't made much of a splash, because like a lot of them are pretty good.
Yeah, but they didn't have any prefabs is also one of the problems.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the part of the issue, because like people needed to buy the boosters to get any of it.
Yeah.
Whereas in these, like, if one card is amazing, all you have to do is buy the precon, sell the one card, and then you got like 99 cards that you can do whatever you like with.
Yeah. I don't know if MT or Wizards still do this, but they used to sell deck building kits, and it would make it super fucking easy for you to have all the lands you need for the year.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still sell those, but I know they sold them when I first got into the hobby, and thank fuck.
Yeah. They were a pretty cool thing to just have for the community. I think most like local game stores can just like give you land packs if you ask nice enough.
Potentially. Bear in mind, my local game store isn't really a game store. It's a cafe dressed up as a game store.
Yeah. It's a cafe with a game store chain. Yeah,
it's one of those where like the way they make their money is they've got little signs on the table saying for every hour you use a table, we expect you to buy a food or drink item.
Yeah.
Do not buy food from them. I've seen how they cook it.
Oh, yeah. They have Chef Mike and they have Toasty Machine.
Well, to be fair, they have an air fryer. However,
sure.
I have never seen them clean it.
No.
Are you a vegetarian? Don't buy anything from these people. I've not seen them clean it after making chicken wings.
Yeah.
Like, it cannot. Like, I'm sure they clean it at the end of the day, but they don't fucking, like, wipe it. They don't even wipe it out between fucking things.
Yeah. And, like, I've used my air fryer once and I spent longer cleaning it than I did putting things in.
Yeah, see, this is why I don't see the point in air fryers. Just use an oven.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I want to focus on is with the set that's coming out. Long story short, they're treating it the exact same as the Lord of the Rings release. So we're going to get 4 commander decks, and we're going to get the boosters.
Yeah. So the boosters are going to possibly have things that are not in the commander decks, like the One Ring.
Well, yeah, but I didn't like that in the first place as a gimmick.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got nothing against Post Malone. Good for him for buying that card off someone who is definitely going to be grateful for the money.
Yeah, so someone whose life will have been changed by whatever it is, $2 million.
But I think it's artificial scarcity at its worst.
Oh, yeah. But even the regular One Ring card is, it's really good. Like, it's an auto-include if you can afford it in a lot of commander decks.
Yeah, but I just don't like that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's one of those where, like, it's... Okay, I'm not big into any deck game, card game, as far as playing is concerned. I've built a Commander deck from scratch, but I got a lot of help as far as Synergy goes. You shared with me a good website. But it's just, I am a collector of the Digimon TCG, and me and a mutual friend of ours, Rick, we are both in the collectathon train on that, and we both do the exact same thing whenever we get packs, and it's, fuck, I didn't get this card, and we know it's going to be 50 quid.
Yeah. Oh, man.
With the Digimon TCG, it's even worse, because you got 50% of it is, this is a really good card playability rise, so you got professional, players wanting that card for every single deck they make, and you got the flip side of it of, this is a popular Digimon, so therefore, we call it the waifu tax, but it isn't actually a waifu tax, it's just a, oh my god, it's this version of Agumon, I must have it.
Yeah. It's Agumon in a hat.
No joke, there's like 5 different Agumons. Well,
and most of them have just got like hats and shit on, yeah.
One of them is like Shinobi Agumon, and he's dressed like a ninja.
Oh man, that's so silly and so cute.
Yeah, it's awful. I'm gonna just straight up discard the One Ring as a thing, as a concept, because if they start doing that with every one of these Universe Beyond releases, I'll hate Wizards of the Coast even more than I already do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the only reason I bring it up is because, from my point of view, the main thing I was speculating on is what the flavour of the Commander decks would be. This is a conversation I had with a mutual friend of ours quite a bit ago when they first announced the whole thing.
Yeah.
And what this mutual friend suggested is, well, there's 16 games, so divide the decks into 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and 13 to 16. To which I said, that's stupid, you're stupid, stop being stupid. Now, it's not the worst way to split things up if you were looking at it from the point of view of Final Fantasy fans. However, you can't look at it from that, you've got to look at it from a gameplay perspective. I've been looking at the Lord of the Rings Commander decks, and they all focused on factions, which granted is a lot easier to do with something like Lord of the Rings. So you had the Riders of Rohan, Rohirrim, very easy, Food and Fellowship, they're basically hobbits, Elven Council, self-explanatory, elves, and the Host of Mordor, evil.
Yep.
So how would we split the Final Fantasy creatures? Because you have to think of synergy and whatnot. And I'm thinking, go on.
The creatures that are not just legendaries, I'd say would just slot into places. So I've picked the 4 archetypes that I think would make good decks.
Oh, go ahead. Let's hear yours first.
So mine are duty heroes, renegade heroes, chaos villains, and order villains.
You see, I think that's where people are slipping up a little bit, is they're trying to split it 50-50 between good and evil. I think it would be a pure good deck, a pure evil deck, and then 2 middle-of-the-road decks.
Sure, okay.
So I think what you would have is, for the good side, it would be basically the fucking 16 protagonists, and then cards relating to them. Perhaps some mix and match with the parties, like you could easily slot Steiner in, or fucking Fang. Alternatively, well, let's not even get into alternative just yet. For the evil side, same thing. It would be the 16 main antagonists, same deal. That would be a lot easier to like theme cards around certain villains.
Yeah.
And then I'd split the other 2 into summoners and mages.
Right, okay.
Where you could start doing a bit more mix and matching between the 2 concepts of good and evil.
Yeah, because the one thing I also thought about with card types is I don't think many of the heroes lend themselves very well to being planeswalkers, but I think summons and villains do, because villains have their plans, and like as they progress through their games, like their plans unfold and they get better, to the point that their ultimate is usually the thing that they use to try and win the game that like makes the end of the game start to happen.
So why are we suddenly talking about planeswalkers?
I'm just thinking about like card types.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I don't think there was any planeswalkers in any of the Universe Beyond sets.
Minsk and Boo were a planeswalker.
But were they in the... But that's not Universe Beyond?
I guess not, no.
Because that's Baldur's Gate, which is just D&D, which is just MTG.
Yeah. Man, actually,
Like,
I
don't know about Fallout, I didn't really look at that set. I know there wasn't any in Assassin's Creed, and I'm 95% sure there wasn't any in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, fair enough. I just think that they would work well with the Planeswalker archetype in terms of like how they work.
I get you, man. I will just take a very quick aside, seeing as we're talking about MTG. It is a bit disappointing that they just don't release standard decks anymore.
Yeah, I get you. I guess part of it is that Commander is a very social format. Like, you sit around your kitchen table. The idea is to spend time together while multiples of you have spent a few $100
I was gonna say, like, for those of you who are uninformed, the Commander format requires you to have a 100-card deck, which is almost twice the amount of a standard deck, and every single card has to be unique. You can only have one copy, except for some very specific instances where they've got a thing on their card that says you can have as many as you want.
And basic lands.
And basic lands, yeah. Basic lands you can do what you want with. It's entire... I know why Wizards of the Coast is focusing on it. It's because people have to spend more money just to get into the hobby.
Yeah. On the plus side, the casual side of it doesn't care about how old cards are.
This is true.
It's only the competitive format where they care about the standard rotation. And if you're into competitive EDH, then you're probably I'm not going to say millionaire, but probably a millionaire.
I wouldn't say you're a millionaire, but I'd say you probably do well enough in the competitive scene that the prize from the competitive is enough to keep you competitive.
Yeah, either that or it's very definitely a hobby for someone who doesn't need the prize money.
This is true as well.
Yeah.
I mean, again, just to show you how much of a racket this is, even Digimon, quite an unpopular in the grand scheme of things trading card game, has come up with their own format. I forget the exact name, but I was like, what the fuck does this mean? I looked it up. Oh, you can only have one of each card in your deck. Someone's copying Magic.
Yep.
They know what's up.
Well, going off your suggestion a little bit, like maybe make it one general villains deck, two hero-ish decks, and one renegades deck.
What do you class as a renegade here? Like, what would even come under that?
So people like Gilgamesh would be very definitely a renegade because he's he's introduced for the very first time as a lackey of the main villain, but he realizes that he likes the heroes better, and ends up joining them. And like when we find him in FF14, is the one that I've spent the most time with him outside of FF5. He's a wandering guy who's just looking for swords, and that tends to be his shtick most of the time.
Yeah,
and
I mean, in 12 that's his gimmick. In 8 that's his gimmick. Although you don't know about him, there's a good chance you miss him in 8.
Yeah, in 8, if you don't have Odin by a certain point, then you miss Gilgamesh.
I explained that to a mutual friend of ours during the Comic-Con, and he said, that's weird. And I went, yeah, that pretty much sums up Gilgamesh, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He is a weird character. Now, if you want to talk about Final Fantasy characters who could be Planeswalkers, I'd be willing to give Gilgamesh a vote, considering he transcends games.
Yeah, like he is literally a walker in the Final Fantasy mythos. And like the other thing I was saying about, other than villains, I think summons are a good bet for that, because they typically have their ultimate, but if you're going by Una logic, then that is kind of how they play. That they're kind of like a force unto themselves when you summon them as Una.
I do think a summoner deck would be a must to include as far as commanders go, where the main creatures are various summons. Like, you've got to have like damn near 30, maybe even more, just, from the various games. Like, the Brothers hasn't been around forever, but everyone remembers them.
Yeah. I also think that their ultimate moves would make good spells. So like Mega Flare, Diamond Dust, Judgment Bolt, that kind of thing.
I think you'd have to limit that to the really big bang ones.
Yes.
Like, Mega Flare is definitely a good one, but and I think Diamond Dust, Judgment Bolt, and I've forgotten Ifrits.
Like Hellfire, I think, is it?
That sounds right. They're all classic.
Yeah.
They'd work. The only problem is their effects would just be so similar.
Yeah, like Mega Flare is just Wrath of God, destroy all creatures. Diamond Dust is probably just going to be like, do a couple of damage and put stun counters on everything, which is something that's kind of like shown up in very recent times. It's basically like a freeze mechanic.
Yeah, I think the freeze mechanic would be much better. I don't think adding damage to it would work, because then it just becomes arguably a better than a creature spell.
Yeah. Hellfire and Judgment Bolt probably both do the same thing of just doing damage.
It's a bit whimsical, isn't it?
Yeah, which at that point I probably would just like only make one of them. The other thing I did think about was limit breaks. I think these could work very similar to how Baldur's Gate had backgrounds.
I don't think it could work as as a background, I think that could just be an extra effect on the card where, when it's tap creature and pay X mana?
Yeah.
I think that would be a limit break, but the mana cost would have to be like twice the cost of the base card minimum.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking, though, is the way that Baldur's Gate did backgrounds was if you had a commander that had choose a background, then you could have the background as essentially a second commander that goes in your commander zone.
I understand what you're saying, however, I don't want Cloud to have trance.
True, fair enough.
Like, again, I'm not poo-pooing you because the mechanic side of things is a bad idea. I'm poo-pooing you because as a Final Fantasy fan, I hate it.
Sure, but I think like make things like the moves into limit breaks, and then have things like trance be part of the card themselves. So like Kuja and Zidane would very, very definitely have trance because they're kind of like they're a lot more based around it than anyone else's. Everyone else's kind of feels narratively tacked on compared to Zidane and Kuja in particular.
Yeah, but the reason I'm playing FF9 right now, so it's high on my mind. Mm-hmm. Like Kuja very explicitly doesn't go into trance the same way everyone else goes into trance. Kuja hacks the system.
Yeah, and he puts himself into permanent trance, and he only comes out of it when he's dying.
I mean, he's technically dying when he goes into trance.
Oh yeah. Like that's part of his. The reason he goes into trance is because he's having a tanty that he has to die.
Well, again, he brute forces himself into trance the same way trance triggers in every combat that's not narrative, and that is if I get beaten up a lot, I'll go into trance. It's such Saiyan logic.
Yeah. You kick my ass. You heal me.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think they would be missing a trick if they didn't have a summoner deck. I just don't know who they'd have as a commander for it. Because I don't think you could have Yuna because she's too linked with Tidus.
Actually, having a bunch of summoners in there that all could do the thing is actually okay, I think.
I understand what you're saying, but we got to go by MTG logic, and MTG logic says that you get one commander and you get one card in your pre-con deck that could also just slot out and be your commander instead.
Yeah. Hell, make it so that Bahamut could just be your commander as well.
It takes away the summoner feel, though.
Yeah, but it's a bit like how like you could be Abaddon or Be'lakor. Like Be'lakor is not normally the leader of Chaos. He's normally kind of just like sealed away somewhere.
Well, no, the logic there, Rick, is they're both Chaos Undivided leaders.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, and then you got stuff like the Necron deck where any of the legendaries is technically a legit commander for that because it's all just mono black.
Well, fuck it. I don't know, man. I don't think Bahamut would be a good idea. I think I could see an argument for Terra given her weird summon status.
Yeah, that she kind of half is one. Yeah, Rydia is another good one because she's like the first dedicated summoner.
Yeah, and FF8 could just have no characters in it at all.
No, FF8 is just Cypher.
That would make even less sense than nobody.
Yeah. What have I got? What have I got written down? So the ones that I've classed as chaos villains are things like Kefka, Kuja, Seymour, Sephiroth. People who just want to destroy everything.
All the main antagonists, essentially.
Yeah. Some of them, the ones that I've got as in the order villains tag are these are like schemers and overlords. Ones who genuinely believe they're doing the right thing. People like Vayne, Emmett Selk, Gaius, and then branching out to people who are so deluded that they know they're not doing the correct thing, like the Emperor, or when Idea is controlled by Ultimecia.
Anyone who gets turned into a monster as their final form, as the final boss, cannot go into this order category.
Sure.
I think out of the characters you listed, the only one I'd argue is correct is Gaius.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Vayne doesn't think what he's doing is right. Vayne just wants to rule the Empire.
Okay, fair enough. And then like my duty heroes, I've got like Warrior of Light, Cecil, Kimari, Bosch, Steiner, Zack, Freya.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think one of the decks should just have the protagonists.
Yeah, I think there needs to be like, if we're going by the logic of Lord of the Rings, having one villain deck and 3 hero decks isn't the worst thing. So like classic era, intermediate era, modern era would be okay.
Yeah, I don't like splitting them like that though, because again, it works well from a Final Fantasy fan's perspective, but not so much from a Magic the Gathering perspective.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it works better if you go by the feel of the worlds.
Okay.
So, like, futuristic feeling worlds that kind of start with FF8. I think FF8 is possibly the most low-tech version of a futuristic world, I'd say. 7 is higher tech than that.
Yeah, but 7's technology is still Magic bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, okay, everything's Magic bullshit. And then you got stuff like, obviously, 9 has technology in it, but it's not the focus of the story.
Okay, well, 9's in a funny place, because 9, when you start, it's a very typical fantasy. It's steampunk. Everything's run by steam.
Yeah.
But then you get to the end game, and it's like, by the way, here's this world that was millions of years ago, and we're going to take all your souls. It's like, fucking what?
Yep. Like, a lot of them have that. Like 5 is very much like that until you find out all the stuff. Oh, yeah, this underneath this island is, like, the remains of Ronka. Like, have fun.
But Rick,
that's where your airship comes from.
Here's the important...
But I still class that as a classic world, yeah.
Here's the important question. Where does Chrono Trigger fit into all this?
I'd put it in there. Fuck it. Why not?
You can't. Toriyama still owns that shit.
Yeah, so Chrono Trigger and frickin' Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, Kingdom Hearts is a definite no-go. That's Disney, so that shit's going to be in Norcana in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Imagine how much of a surge in popularity Norcana will get if all of a sudden, by the way, here's our new Sora/Riku deck, and everyone goes like, fucking what?
yeah, totally. But yeah, what else can we think of? So
I think we've done an admirable job here, as far as a cursory discussion goes in theming the 4 commander decks, because I don't think we're going to actually settle on anything, which makes it more... It will certainly make it more interesting when these decks eventually release. Yep. I don't know about you, but if I have the funds, I will probably actually just buy all 4.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm also, like, I have set aside mentally money for it already.
Yeah. So again, another thing we happen to know about this is Wizards of the Coast are boasting that this release of card sets is going to feature the most Final Fantasy art in any card game, which is bold, yes, considering Final Fantasy has had like 3 different card games.
Which also made it kind of mystifying that they picked Final Fantasy as a crossover target.
Well, again, because, it's one of those where they have plenty of art to take inspiration from. It's not like Lord of the Rings, where they just, paid a bunch of people who were into high fantasy, Lord of the Rings in particular, and were like, go nuts. Yeah.
Like, they also gave them a couple of pointers, like this is what we want certain things to look like, and this is how we want to make it look different to just Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a step in the right direction by not just taking the characters as they appeared in the live-action movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I digress. The reason why I'm suggesting we move on is, Rick, I know you have certain ideas regarding certain characters as cards, so let's get into the nitty-gritty and offer a few suggestions as to how we think certain characters as cards would work.
Yeah. So the one that I mentioned to you last night was Yojimbo.
Yeah, and as you said, same brain cell.
Yeah, we had the same brain cell, that he would revolve around treasure tokens. What I would do is I would make, as I said, I would make summons into planeswalkers. I'd make his ability that gives him loyalty the one that spreads treasure around the world. So, like, everybody gets a treasure token, and his ultimate would be destroy all treasure tokens, and he does an amount of damage to a target equal to the number of treasure tokens destroyed this way.
Okay, I don't like the idea of planeswalkers being introduced in this set, but apart from that, it's not the worst in the world. It's just, like, if you comboed that with any pirate, like any pirate card, so many pirate cards just generate treasure, it would become bent real quick.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's commander, so being bent isn't the be-all, end-all. But we've also got to bear in mind that we now know that these cards are going to be allowed in standard as well, so it can't be too... But then again, how much treasure are you going to generate in a one-on-one game as opposed to a 4-player game? That's the question.
Yeah. Like, that's another thing. Like, because it's commander, a lot of these things are going to be balanced around a table. So when it comes to things that are in standard, they're just going to be worse because there's fewer targets for things to work against all creatures or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose. Apart from I don't like the idea of Planeswalkers full stop in these Universe Beyond sets, but yeah, it's not the worst idea in the world. I probably wouldn't make the ability that bent. I'd probably just make it like one treasure makes him send out Daiguro, which does X damage to target creature. That could potentially take a low level creature off the board. Free treasure could make him do Aietsu or whatever the fuck, and it destroys the amount of creatures that you pay treasure tokens, maybe. Power wise.
That's a pretty good one. Destroy target creature with power equal to or less than, or converted mana cost equal to or less than the number of treasure that you sacrifice.
Yeah, mana cost sounds like a better way of doing it, honestly. And then obviously his ultimate move would be. Is his ultimate move also called Zandetsukin?
Isn't it Zanmato?
Maybe. Either way, his ultimate move would have to be a high treasure cost, and it does. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. It's the instant kill thing that destroys something. I probably would just exile something, to be honest.
I think you should make it a really bullshit convoluted amount of treasure, and if you activate it, you win the game.
Sure. I mean, that tends to be the way that Planeswalkers end. They just have a pretty much I win the game button for their ulti.
Yeah, but you have to accumulate, HP, which is not easy to do.
Yeah, typically, yeah.
So I'm just saying, let's just change that to something different, because again, I don't think Planeswalkers are a good idea to introduce from this particular concept. And I don't feel too bad having an instant win condition like that, because one of my cards in my Pirate Commander deck is Mechanized Production.
Yeah.
It makes a copy of target artifact every turn. If you manage to make 8 copies, you win the game.
Sure.
But at the same time, you have to survive and have none of those artifacts destroyed for 8 turns. So, your opponents know that's a win condition, because, in the fairness of the game, you have to explain that's what it does.
Yeah, totally.
So if your opponents lose via that method, they've only got themselves to blame.
Yeah. Legendary weapons. I think Odin's Zantetsuken is a pretty good sword to just equip, and then you just destroy creatures when you hit things with it.
No, I don't like that. I don't think that should be an equip. I think the Legendary Swords is a great idea, but it should be actual character weapons rather than summons.
Yeah, so like the Buster Sword, Save the Queen, Excalibur 2.
I don't want Excalibur 2 to touch this game. If you want to see Excalibur 2, go and play Final Fantasy 9 and practically beat it in 12 hours.
Yeah, and probably do it on not the PAL version.
The re-releases make it a bit easier, because there's an in-game cheat engine that lets you just do 9999 damage with every attack.
Sure, okay.
So you will beast you just got to stop giving a fuck. You just got to not play the game properly.
Yeah, and by that point, what's the point in having equipment? Because you just do 9999s.
Yeah, the Steam version doesn't have that, but I know the PlayStation re-release on the PS4 Plus has that.
Yeah, fair enough. I think airships would make good vehicles.
Airships absolutely should be vehicles.
Named ones like the High Wind, the Ragnarok, the Strahl.
Yeah, the Strahl will be fun.
Yeah.
I think as well it gives other characters things to potentially do, like having Sid be a fairly generic character, with 2/2 power, and he has jump that makes him do something wacky. But also if he's piloting a vehicle type airship, it gives that airship +2 health or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, I'd probably just have a thing of all Dragoons have First Strike, and then just make Sid's thing being characters with First Strike pilot vehicles as if they had 4 more power or something.
Yeah, that works. A lot of pirate characters have that gimmick of they count as this power for the purposes of controlling vehicles. Mm-hmm. It's not the worst idea. The most annoying thing with having this Final Fantasy gimmick as a Universe Beyond is every single Final Fantasy game could have a commander deck on its own.
Oh yeah, totally. Certain characters are going to get skipped. They just are, because there's too many characters. There's over 100. There's 130 characters ended up making it into Difafu, and that's not even all of them.
Oh, not even close. We never got Riku.
No, or Red 13.
He sucks.
Yeah. We only got Amarant towards the end of JP as well. We never got it on global.
Didn't we get Queener before Amarant?
Yeah, we did.
That's a Sid.
Yeah.
Okay, Queener's annoying because they have got the potential to be the most busted bent character in Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
They're just so fucking goofy.
Yeah, it's a case of, do you think this game is serious? Oh, look at Queener.
I mean, no can eat.
Yeah, that, like, Queener's just basically the logical conclusion of how stupid Kate Sith is.
No, here's the thing, is I don't think Queener's any... At least Queener is just a natural creature that appears in that world, as opposed to Kite Sith being bullshit.
Yeah, it's literally a doll. They even acknowledge that it's a remote control doll.
Yeah, I don't like... It
still looks fucking weird.
I don't like Kite Sith. I know anyone who has Kite Sith in their party is wrong.
Yeah, such a weird character.
I mean, Final Fantasy IX is just my favourite of all time. And because I'm replaying it, I'm just like, shit, FF9 is like the only game where you get 4 party members.
No, you get 4 in the first game you start with 4.
Yeah, okay, I meant a real Final Fantasy.
5, you've got 4. One of them switches out, but you switch out in FF9 as well.
What do you mean one of them switches out?
Galuf dies and you get replaced by Krill.
Okay, I just meant having 4 on the field.
You got 4 on the field at all times in 6, pretty much.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, you saying switching out didn't make a lot of sense because it didn't actually change the amount of characters that are on the field.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when you're walking around, they follow you, don't they? Sometimes.
Not in 9.
Do they not? Okay.
No. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm getting distracted. I like FF9. I'm gonna endeavour to try and buy all 4 Commander decks. I imagine there will be a lot of Square Enix nerds that don't give a fuck about Magic, but will be like,
yeah,
these have got some nice artworks, and this is my favourite Final Fantasy, so I'm just gonna... Which is the point of Universe Beyond to a certain degree. It's Magic the Gathering going like, let's tempt some people to buy some products because they like the thing that we're crossing over with. Maybe they'll stick around, but if they don't, we've still got 200 plus quid because these decks are expensive.
Yeah, totally. Like, no lie, the reason that I got kind of back into Commander was partly because I was invited to some Commander days and was able to borrow some decks, and I was like, okay, cool, maybe I should have my own. And partly because they did a rerun of the Warhammer Universes Beyond, and they went from being like 150 quid a deck to like RRP. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll buy them at RRP.
Yeah, they're still expensive, but they're not fucking scab priced up to fuck.
Yeah. Like the Necrons one is pretty expensive still, but like you can pretty easily get the Tyranids one still right now. The Baldur's Gate ones are all pretty expensive now, which makes me kick myself for not buying them when they were new.
Yeah, I get you on that one. If you want to talk about fucking being kicked and being annoyed, MTG had a set of cards way back. It's not before I was born, but it's certainly before I knew Magic the Gathering was a thing. Mm-hmm. It was called Portal Three Kingdoms.
Yes.
And they just had... I remember seeing these when I was young, but like way after the fact, and being like, that's cool, where do I get these? You don't.
No, you don't.
But I'm looking at one now, like Guan Yu Sainted Warrior, and it's just some classic fucking Guan Yu artwork. It's a 5 mana card, and it's white, of course it is. They've got horsemanship, which is an effect that still exists.
Yeah, so it went away for a long time, and it only came back like in the set where you got that one deck.
Yeah, and that effect's bent. You want to get rid of that card.
Yeah, it's basically flying, but only interacts with horsemanship.
Yeah.
Shadow is another one that does that, but Shadow, you can only block things with Shadow.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, you've got some things like that only interact with themselves, and that's kind of like a... they've stopped doing things like that in general, and they only bring it back now and again.
I get you. Like, if they ever even teased doing that Free Kingdom shit again, I'd be on it like a fly on shit.
Yeah.
But
Thankfully, some mechanics have gone away forever, like banding has gone away forever, pretty much.
Yeah, that's probably a mechanic that went away before I even started looking at the hobby.
Yeah, it's one way you can basically put 2 creatures together and they count as one for the purpose of other things blocking it.
Okay.
But then you get to choose where the damage goes when they get blocked.
That's unnecessarily convoluted.
Yeah, it's daft.
I could see why it went away.
Yeah, it's daft.
But yeah, do you have any other ideas?
Enchantments, jobs, sagas, basic spells like Reflect would be a pretty good thing to just have that you can just cast on your dude. It gives you like Ward 2 or whatever, or Protection from blue or whatever.
Yeah, as far as sagas go, like instantly there's 16 cards you make.
Yes, yeah. Like as simple as like Meteor being a saga, like Meteor being summoned, like getting to the temple, getting the white materia, Ares dies.
So when you say Meteor, you meant Meteor from FF7?
Yes.
Yeah, because Meteor's just a regular spell in FF9.
It is, yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Like
Ultima is the spell in 9 that's the be all and end all.
It is and it isn't. Ultima's the same thing that Beatrix uses. Well, I mean, not the literal same thing, but it's like it's the attack that Kuja uses to just end the fight and put everyone at 1 HP.
Yeah.
I believe he gets it as a regular attack during his final boss fight, but at that point he's a punk bitch.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, like FF9 would be the Terror siphoning reveal. You know, where it's the whole reason the Mist exists and these 4 Guardians and bullshit is just to siphon souls from Gaia to give them to Terrans. That entire plot is dumb. It's not dumb. It's the 4-fact twist.
Yeah. It's like, what do you call it? Like the Legend of the Mist or something, or Secret of the Mist.
I wouldn't even call it that. It would literally just be terraforming or some bollocks.
Ah, I like that. Terraforming. Yeah. Like 13 is just like the Quest of the Lassie or whatever.
Oh, who cares? 13 might as well not exist for the purpose of this discussion. 16 would be the Ballad of Ifrit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's just, you'd have to come up with more imaginative names than Rick and I riffing off the spot.
Yeah, totally.
But like, I know in the Universe Beyond's Assassin's Creed, like pretty much all the Assassin's Creeds had a saga, like Black Flag's was Ballad of the Black Flag.
Yeah. And like 10s would definitely be the final summoning.
Yeah, I get the intent, but you know, the final summoning doesn't happen in that game.
Yeah, true. It's happened in every other cycle before that.
Yeah, hence it being a cycle.
Yeah.
But you know.
Like even the simple one of, whatchamacallit, Cecil going from dark to light is a pretty cool one to go with.
Yeah, and I can already see the fucking artwork in my head.
Yeah, like man, him even being a flip card would be pretty fun.
I think it would be fun, but annoying.
Yeah, because you'd probably have to have, like, if you did it in a regular deck, you'd either have to have him in a proxy and then just he's outside of the game and he's in a see-through sleeve that you flip, or something along those lines.
Well, as long as you use matte sleeves.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really a problem.
Yeah, those you can pull out. You can pull the whole thing out and, like, double sleeve it, yeah. That'd work.
Well, it's what I've got for my commander deck. They're all in matte sleeves, and my commander has got a special unique sleeve because they don't have to be in the deck.
Yeah, true. Materia and the crystals would make pretty good artifacts, I guess.
The crystals not so much, but materia would work in an FF7 themed deck.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd really do for materia, because materia is just skills.
I suppose, yeah. I think the crystals would make pretty good lands, actually. Like a legendary land, like the Earth Crystal.
Unfortunately, you're referring to games I haven't really played.
Okay, they show up in pretty much all of the Final Fantasy until, like, 5. And then, I think from then on, they kind of don't very often, but still.
Yeah, crystals always show up in Final Fantasies. It's just their importance has become very much diminished since at least 7.
Yeah. It's like, you don't go around collecting the 4 crystals to do the thing.
Yeah.
Or protecting the 4 crystals to do the thing.
FF9 has 4 crystals in it, but they're just key items for funsies.
Yeah.
And they've got the 4 Guardian Shrines, but you go to one of them.
Yeah. You only care about one of them, yeah.
Yeah, you fight
like the 4 fiends and all that.
Yeah, there were 4 fiends in their original game. They're the 4 Guardians in 9. But they're the exact same creatures. Yeah. They definitely appear in the villain deck.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like,
Maralith, Lich, Kraken, Lich, Tiamat.
Yeah.
Tiamat is a bastard, because he's got that snort ability, and it just takes out a party member for the rest of the fight, and it's like, cool, awesome. If it's your white mage, then fucking rip.
Yeah. To be honest, I think they'd end up going with the FF4 versions of them if they're doing the 4 fiends. Like Barbarich, Rubicante, Cognazo, and the other one.
Get fucked.
Get fucked, Lich, who's not Cognazo,
yeah, you can have those be the ones in the actual commander deck, but you can have. Here's the thing: because they're releasing boosters, they will have everything.
Yeah, they can have everything if they care enough. Like basic shit like Adamantoises and Cactuars are just instant picks for just basic fodder, like non-legendary creatures. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then you should have Tombury and then a real Tombury.
Yeah, a Tombury King.
Like, here's a Tombury. If it stays in play without being wiped out after, like, 9 turns, it can instantly kill an enemy creature.
Yeah. Or it just has the poison counters thing.
What do you mean?
Where if it's not blocked, then it gives people poison counters, and instead of damage. Once you got 10 poison counters, you lose the game.
Nah, I don't think that accurately represents the slowly walking towards you with a knife vibe.
Sure. How do we do that? So I'd say it doesn't untap during your untap step. untap, you pay an amount to untap it. You can only do so at the end of your turn, and then it has death touch.
Yeah, but there's creatures that have death touch just for free anyway.
Yeah, but you make it cheap to summon, and then it's just a threat. But you have to pay quite a lot to untap it and be able to use it again.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on that idea.
Sure, fair enough.
I don't. You know what? Having this podcast and having this episode in particular has made me realise I don't envy these guys who have to come up with mechanics for MTG.
Yeah, totally.
And like we're not even fucking going. You can't have that because it doesn't play well with this. And if you include this card, then it becomes an infinite and it makes you win the game. We're just being like, well, I say we. I'm just being like, I don't like that idea, so let's not do it.
Sure. It just reminds me of like Carl Pilkington going, oh, well, all right, then we won't do it. Like, when he's talking about the watch that makes you immortal.
Yeah. Carl, it's not a thing.
All right, we won't do it. Drop it.
It's not a watch that makes you immortal. It's a watch that will tell you when you die.
Oh yeah. Isn't there also one that when you do die, you start aging backwards again, then you end up as a little baby, and then you take it off, and then
Yeah, no, that wasn't even an invention. That was what if, like, when you reach 75, instead of dying, it's like no one knows why I picked that age. They inject something in your head, and then you age backwards, and it's like, what the fuck are you on about, man?
And then you're a little baby.
And then they had the other version of it was even weirder. It was like you become an apple, like not literally an apple, but you're essentially a human apple. And when you die, another version of you bursts out of you, and then that version ages backwards. It's like, wouldn't that be great? And it's like, what are you on about?
Yeah, it was like, did you just go to sleep? Is this a continuation of a dream you were having a moment ago?
But yeah, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
I think potentially, like, we brought up Adamantoise and Cactuars and whatnot. Maybe what the fourth deck type that we could have for Commander would just be beasts.
Yeah, just like the legendary and non-legendary beasts from around the world, like the Beastmaster deck, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. The only issue becoming who would be the commander.
Yeah, it's like who's the most Beastmastery character in all of Final Fantasy? Probably Yojimbo. Stupidly enough, he's the only one that actually legitimately has a pet.
I think the actual answer would be Sarah, not Sarah, the fucking Lightning Sister.
Yeah, that's Sarah Farron, yeah.
Yeah, because in part 2, 13-2...
Yeah, she's got the pet Moodle, ain't she? Yeah.
She hasn't got the pet. Like, in that game, your third party member is a fiend.
Sure.
Like, because you can just capture... I can't remember the exact mechanic, but you convince fiends to fight for you and they become an additional party member.
Sure, yeah.
And I'd much rather that than, like, taking the Beastmaster class, like, version of Pain, Riku, or Yuna.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'd do it.
Yeah, fair enough. That'd be pretty cool, yeah, like recruiting fiends and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've waxed lyrical long enough about this. I think the last thing you wanted to do was look at the 6 cards and have a think about what they might be.
I mean, we could look, but honestly, like, they are just it's just character art. Like, you got Emmett Selk, that's going to be Emmett Selk. You've got Kefka, that actually looks like it's going to be a spell of some kind, because it focuses a lot more on what he's doing than the actual character. You've got Tidus and Yuna having a little kiss. That's probably going to be a saga or just straight up a spell. You got Sephiroth, who appears to be ready to fucking completely kill Aerith. I don't think that's going to be Sephiroth the card. I think that's going to be like, well, an instant, probably one that insta-kills someone.
Yeah, like Blade of Doom or something, yeah. Just like a Blade of Doom reprint that just happens to be Sephiroth.
Possibly. The next one is a delivery postman Moogle. That looks like it was just ripped straight off the FF14 website.
Yeah, it's just a slightly higher quality reprint of the Mog Station logo or whatever it is.
Yeah,
where it's like the advert of, oh, come visit the Mog Station. We've got this thing at 30% off right now.
Yeah, it also looks more like a spell than a creature. And then lastly, we've got Lightning, and that's definitely just going to be Lightning.
Yeah, that's just a creature, yeah. I'm most looking forward to Emmett Selk. I'm very happy that he's going to be in the game.
Yeah, but like, tell me any other villain from FF14 who will be in it who is not Gallus.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gaius is Xenos.
Sorry, I said Gallus, which is me mishmashing both their names up with each other.
Yeah, I think Gallus is a freaking pony.
A Pony.
Yeah, in the last seasons of My Little Pony.
If you say so.
Yeah. He's one of the new kids who they tried to replace the main six with a multiracial.
Oh, Rick, you don't understand. That was me saying, I acknowledge that you said this, let's move on.
Yeah.
You don't need to explain the concept of a My Little Pony character from a season I didn't watch.
But yeah, I think this is about it for today. We don't really have a thumbs up, thumbs down moment to have, so I guess we'll just end with, if you liked the video, you've got the comment section down below on YouTube and Spotify, and if you're not watching via one of those and listening via a different audio platform, you can instead send an email via nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Let us know what cards you would like to see in a Final Fantasy/MTG crossover, what things we might have missed, what ideas that we offered that were just complete shit and we should never even broach the topic. And I think definitely focus on what characters you think would make a good commander for MTG. Alternatively, you might only like Final Fantasy and don't care about the MTG format. What artwork do you want to see? Yeah, absolutely. And what other things do you want to see just incorporated? Like I've made it no secret that I like blue magic, but not necessarily Queener, so it would be cool to see what they do with things like that.
I could definitely see having like a blue mage combo up with a creature, like sacrifice the creature, and that blue mage now gets that effect on top of its already base effects. Like the blue mage job card might just be, you like we just said, that, or like we even said for Kirby, you put the creature underneath it, and you get its abilities. Anyway, there's all sorts of goofy shit you can do because MTG has rules, but it doesn't. Yeah, the rules are all about how you break the rules. Like anything that's not just a 2-2 for 2 that does nothing else is breaking the rules in some way. But yes, that's about it from us today. That's going to be a goodbye from me. Yep, see you next week, guys, for something completely different.